Well, as we record our next interview, we want to note the fact that the United Nations says the roads in southern Lebanon are jammed. This is the result of over 100,000 people trying to escape the city of Rafah in southern Gaza. Now, the fighting has intensified in the area as Israel continues to push further with its offensive, and that is exacerbating an already deadly situation with the basics of food and shelter now in short supply. To talk about the situation, we're now joined by Patrick Hamilton. He is head of delegation for the International Red Cross in Canada and the United States. Mr. Hamilton, thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much. Great to be with you, Michael. Thanks for the opportunity.
Listen, I want to start a conversation here by talking about where Rafah actually is. And we have a map here for people at home because, again, located in southern Gaza, this is on the border with Egypt, but also where the many entry points for humanitarian aid are actually located. You know, as the fighting intensifies, my understanding is that that has affected what is actually getting through. Is any humanitarian aid getting through at this point?
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, it's clearly been the crucial crossing point for so many of us trying to get aid into Gaza over the course of the last 7 months. And today there are a lot of unclear reports as to exactly what is possible. There are some indications that it is still possible to get aid across, others that it's not. So we've had a period over the last several months where there has been a bit more sustained flow getting into Gaza. But today, it frankly is really unclear even to us here as to what is actually possible. But in any case, what we are really calling for is to the parties, including the Israeli government, to ensure that there is a sustained flow of aid into Gaza, and then that we and the other humanitarian actors are then able to move that aid and get it out and around Gaza, which has been clearly a really challenging factor across the course of these last very difficult 7 months.
Well, and of course, your calls for aid follows what we've heard from the UN and the World Food Program this week, talking about famine, concerned about the people that are on the ground in Gaza. Again, you know, over 100,000 people are now trying to get out of Rafah. How concerning is that for these tens of thousands of people to undertake this journey, often by foot, with very little gas in vehicles that they do have, through territory that's being fought for, and I take it in weakened states?
That's right. As you say, I mean, this conflict has been going on now intensively extremely intensively for the last 7 months, and many of the people, over 1 million people that have been and are today in Gaza, in Rafah, have been displaced 3, 4, 5 times already. Many of them have come down from the north. They have had no meaningful shelter. Many of them have been in tents, have been out in the streets, have not had access to proper toilets, have not had access to markets, and so on and so forth, and are really, really struggling to survive at this point. And so now that they are facing, once again, intensifying hostilities in Rafah, but hostilities that are also going on elsewhere out and across Gaza, they are being faced with having to make impossible choices once again about what to do. Do they stay? Do they move? Where can they be safe? Where can they obtain the basics to ensure their survival in these incredibly difficult days?
Mm-hmm. Well, you asked the question, and I don't know if you actually have an answer. Where can these displaced people go to? Is there any area safe right now in southern Gaza?
Then we've been confronted with that question from the first day, frankly, and we don't have a good answer point in time that there is anywhere that can be guaranteed as being genuinely safe out and across the Gaza Strip today. And so indeed, these people are faced with a really impossible question. And we continue to call upon the parties to this conflict to do all they can to try to ensure that indeed, if there are places that are safer for these people to go to clearly indicate that to them, as well as then to take on their responsibilities to ensure that the basic needs of those people are met. Our role as humanitarian organisations and actors is secondary to the legal obligations that rest with the parties to provide for the survival of the population, and more clearly needs to be done at this point in time towards that end.
Mm-hmm. Now, we're quickly running out of time, Mr. Hamilton, but the United States did commit to building a temporary port and causeway into Gaza as an alternate point for humanitarian aid to arrive. We heard from the Pentagon this week. They said the work has now been completed. What impact will that have on getting humanitarian supplies to civilians on the ground? How quickly might that be up and running, do you think?
We don't know. I don't know exactly what the timeline is with regards to that pier installation. We welcome, of course, any and every effort to try and get more aid into Gaza. You know, clearly the needs continue to far outstrip what all of us are being able to actually accomplish in Gaza at this point, and so any new initiative is very welcome. But clearly, nonetheless, there is no substitution for land access for aid into Gaza, and there will, of course, also be the needs of trying to figure out, once you've got that aid in, the ongoing challenge of how do you actually get it around Gaza, meaningfully distributed to all of the people that really need it. So it is a part of the puzzle of trying to move things forward, but I would just repeat again the fact that it's the parties to the conflict in this instance that have that primary responsibility for delivering on the needs of the people that are affected by this terrible war.
Patrick Hamilton, I appreciate the time today. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Michael.